Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining today's Resideo webinar session. Today, we are going to provide an overview of our steam humidifier options and controls. My name is Jamie Quanrud, and I'm part of the Resideo Sales Training Team. And on behalf of all of us on today's training, I'd like to welcome you to our session today. Before we get started with this technical overview presentation, I'd like to just cover a few administrative items for everyone. Make sure you join us every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is our standard training time during the week where we give you an opportunity to learn about our Resideo and Honeywell home branded products. If you'd like a schedule of our upcoming webinars, please visit resideo.com/webinars for more information on these upcoming sessions. Additionally, we are recording each of these training sessions, and you can find those recordings on this same website underneath that webinar recordings tab as well. And then for those contractors who are joining us for today's live session and you are interested in earning one NATE continuing education credit, there are just a few things to note. If you provided your NATE ID on your registration form, we are going to submit that information to NATE for your attendance of today's live session, and we won't need any additional information from you at this time. However, if you did not provide us with your NATE ID on the registration form for today's webinar, and you would like to receive credit for attending this live session, then we ask you to email your first name, your last name, your NATE ID, and the date of our session today that you attended to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week from today. We do also submit this information to NATE 1 week following the close of every training session. Any requests that are sent outside of 1 week from today's live session cannot be processed. And as a reminder, we can only process requests for those NATE credits when you attend the live webinar session, and we are unable to process requests if you are watching a recorded version of this session. If you'd like more information about the NATE program, please visit their website at www.natex.org. And then one quick note before we begin our overview presentation today. All of our attendees are muted. However, if at any point during our presentation you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead and use the Q&A feature that's found in your Zoom webinar controls. We do reserve the last few minutes of our time at the end of these training sessions to answer your questions live. So as we progress through the technical training today, make sure to take advantage and ask your question in that Q&A feature, and we'll go ahead and address it at the end of today's session. We're going to turn things over in the presentation to Chris Levy, who is one of our Resideo contractor development specialists in the Minnesota market. Chris is joining us today to share his knowledge on all things steam humidification. So we're going to turn things over to Chris to begin today's session. Thanks so much for being with us today, Chris.
All right, thank you. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday, and we have a few minutes today to walk through and discuss steam humidification and controls, which is just one part of the Resideo portfolio, which really I think is one of our benefits as a vendor for your company to use, is we offer control and indoor air quality products for all aspects of indoor air quality, which are increasingly I guess, top of mind these days with COVID-19 and everything we're dealing with today. Resideo offers products in the ventilation, air purification, air filtration, and of course today's topic, humidification and control, done with many of our thermostat controls as well as standalone devices, which we'll talk about towards the end of our presentation. Humidity in the home is something that has to be managed throughout the year. In the summertime, it's managing humidity so it's not too humid. That's our right-hand side of this slide. And in the wintertime, when it's too dry, you can have adverse effects in your home as well. ASHRAE's recommended level of humidity, the optimum zone, is ideally between 40 and 60%. Here in Minnesota, and the Dakotas, where I do much of my work, I know many dealers concentrate in that 30 to 40% range for humidity levels, which seems to work very well. As you can see, the closer you are to the optimum range, the less likelihood you will have with having to battle bacteria, viruses, fungus, mites, respiratory infections, allergic responses, chemical interaction, and ozone. There are many variables that need to be considered when choosing a humidifier and providing options to your homeowners. You have to take the whole home into account with regard to its insulation factor. Is the home relatively new and has very tight insulation and a tight thermal envelope? What kind of condition are the windows? Are they in good condition or original to the home? And maybe that home's 50 years old. Ceiling height is also important, as large homes tend to have vaulted ceilings in their great spaces. We need to actually look at cubic feet as far as how much humidity we're trying to provide in the home. This is something we'll also talk about in upcoming slides. And of course, we have our indoor temperature. The higher the temperature, the higher and more humidity you need to achieve desired comfort. What setting is the homeowner going to try to have? Sometimes it is a matter of having a conversation and setting realistic expectations. Homeowner that says it must be 42% humidity because my piano guy said so isn't necessarily the best direction to go. It's more about controlling your humidity and keeping it in a satisfactory range for comfort and cutting down on the variance in your humidity. Other factors to consider is how much ventilation is in the home. Fireplace flues, are they open or closed or often left open? Do we have an HRV with motorized dampers? Are windows left open? And of course, older homes breathe more. And another thing to consider is cooking vents and bathroom vents. Do homeowners leave them on all the time or periodically throughout the day? So understanding the way they live in their home will help you offer the right kind of humidifier choice when presenting an offer. Sizing a humidifier is sometimes tricky. And in reality, the best thing you can do is take into account the basic tightness of the construction. Is the thermal envelope average, tight, or rather loose? And then the square footage in the home multiplied by the height, so that you can get the cubic square feet of space that you're trying to cover. This screen shows you the recommended humidity needs in gallons per day of a tight, average, or loose home based on the cubic square footage of that home. And below that, you will see the chart for the Resideo steam humidifier and the output of the humidifier and size needed to manage that cubic square footage of space. One thing, rule of thumb to consider, as homes get larger, if you have multiple heating systems in the home, you will need multiple humidifiers. It's basic common sense, in my opinion, that if your home is so large to have the proper amount of heat capacity, you need 2 systems. Then for the proper amount of humidity, you need 2 humidifiers. The Resideo HM750 Advanced Electrode Steam Humidifier is been a really, really good product for us for a number of years now. It provides on-demand humidity. It has flexible application and installation capability. It is very efficient in its operation, and we offer several controls, and all that tied to a 5-year warranty. Some of the basic features and benefits, some of which we'll dive into more deeply throughout the presentation today, is that this steam humidifier can be duct mountable. So you can mount it to your supply plenum and inject the steam straight into the ductwork. It has a very simple and is simplified and successful installations. It has a compact and lightweight design. I believe, if my memory serves, it's 18 pounds dry. It offers the ability for a single person install with flexible placement. The diagnostics are very intuitive with the ability to schedule maintenance and offer simple troubleshooting. The way this electrode steam humidifier works is steam is generated inside the steam integrated cylinder. This is created by passing electricity across the two electrodes, which are your consumable component. The electricity will interact with the minerals in the water, causing a boiling action, which will then create steam, and that steam will enter the ductwork through the steam nozzle. The neat thing about the HM750 is it offers full output of steam throughout its entire life. That varies greatly compared to our competition in this steam humidifier, electrode steam humidifier category. The dotted line on this chart represents the output of the HM750 from new till replacement date. And the way that works is the patented technology inside our steam humidifier manages the water level in the tank, and that water level starts low, and as those electrodes are consumed throughout their life, the water level will rise. That way, we are always providing new electrode surface to be consumed throughout the life of the humidifier, giving you your full 11 gallons per day output or 22 gallons per day output, depending on power used. The competition actually has the entire cylinder full of water, and that means that on day one, when the cylinder is new, you are slowly consuming the entire cylinder. So your output when new is going to be at 100%, and as the life of that cylinder starts to grow, you will have reduced output. So you can see at half life, your output is roughly 60% in that design, meaning that your 11 gallon per day output is really giving you something closer to 6 to 7 gallons per day. That could be a problem in a home that needs 11 gallons per day. So one of the main benefits to the Resideo design of the HM750 is that full output from beginning of life to replacement. Here we show the cover off of the electrode steam humidifier. Starting at 12 o'clock, you can see we're that arrow is taking us to the gray electronic interface. This is where you will see the simple diagnostics and the single button for reset or start. Moving around from the top to the right, we have our mounting keyhole slot for easy installation. The cylinder connection, which is done with a rubber connection and hose clamp. The steam cylinder, of course. The drain and the supply connection. Inside that red enclosure, that electrical behind the interface, will be the circuit board. The control panel is visible, showing you on the front side through the cover, along with the diagnostic LED outputs. The basic specifications of the HM750 are shown here. This humidifier provides 11 gallons per day or 22 gallons per day, depending on whether you are wiring to 120 volt or 240 volt applications, with a maximum amp draw of 12 amps. This can be mounted via remote or duct mount. And here I stand corrected, it is actually a 19-pound dry weight. I was remembering 18, not bad for an old guy like me. Dimensions are pretty compact, 17 by 10 by 7 inches. UL listed, or user interface, I'm sorry, with diagnostics and the status of the unit. The wiring terminals are very easy to use, push-in terminals. And the range of conductivity that the water requires for proper boiling action is a 50 to 1300 microsiemens. That's a standard measurement for water conductivity. Maintenance is pretty simple. Annually, if preferred, or when the diagnostic indicator indicates it's time to replace, which in some applications could be longer than annually, or in high use, high output applications, maybe mid-year or towards the end of a season. The cylinder is replaced. It's a simple procedure where you disconnect the quick connect electrical connections, and then with a screwdriver, you can loosen the clamp on the nozzle connection, or the connection to the nozzle steam hose, and then remove the unit by tipping it back and pulling it out of the solenoid. It doesn't require any cleaning. The tank itself is pre-salted to give you a jump start on conductivity by providing minerals in the water. The hose connection should be inspected annually. If needed, if worn, can be replaced. Again, the drain and fill valve should be inspected and cleaned so that O-ring seats in there without any gouges. And if needed, the nozzle itself could be replaced if it starts to show wear or deterioration. Here we show the two diagrams for installing. On the left, we have the direct mount. On the right, the remote wall mount, or remote duct mount in some cases. When direct mounting it on the ductwork, there's no need for the steam hose, even though it's included in the box. You will remove the cylinder and slide out the steam guide and install the nozzle for direct steam input. It'll click when it's fully seated, and then you will reinstall the cylinder, making sure that the foam gasket is placed in between the humidifier and the duct nozzle. For remote mounting, and in some cases this is simply mounting on the return and then using the hose to supply steam through the nozzle into the supply duct. It's the standard configuration from the factory, so it's ready to install this way. The steam guide from the cylinder directs the steam upwards. The 5 feet of steam hose which is supplied can be cut to the proper length, ensuring that you're always in a downward slope, so you do not have any way for water to accumulate, or condensation, I should say, to accumulate in the duct hose. Ensuring that where the nozzle is installed, you have at least 4 inches of rise. That means 4 inches before you have the ceiling of your ductwork, and 12 inches of run or throw, which is the amount of space needed for that steam to get into the ductwork and be absorbed by the airflow before it has a chance to hit the walls of the ductwork and potentially condensate. There are basic part numbers for additional replacement annual components and custom pieces. Here we have the basic part number for the steam humidifier itself, which gives you everything needed for a standard installation. Additionally, if needed, you can order a 15-foot synthetic insulated steam hose kit. The ability to have a replacement PCB board, drain fill valve and nozzles, and of course the cylinder for annual replacement or replace as needed. Included with the HM750 is the Resideo HumidiPro, which is our digital control. It has a manual and automatic control option with advanced window protection or frost control. This device can be used to control a humidifier or a dehumidifier, not both at the same time or simultaneously. You have to select which way to use it upon installation. It does have a very simple wiring interaction, so it's a very easy device to install and configure. It offers a high outdoor temperature shutoff so that you don't humidify when the temperature reaches 65 degrees, for example. It also offers compressor protection for the dehumidifier with the ability to choose a 0 to 5 minute lockout to make sure you're not short cycling your dehumidifier when using it that way. It offers a very large, easy to read screen, which displays your current relative humidity. And on the left-hand button is your on-demand light button to light up the backlight. You have an on-off system button on the right, and then finally your up and down button for adjusting your set point. When used with the supplied wired outdoor air sensor, the HumidiPro can be used with window frost protection to prevent condensation on your windows of your home. We also offer several thermostat controls that have the ability to manage your humidifier in your home or in the homes that you work in. We will be going through and talking about the Wi-Fi Vision Pro, the RedLINK Vision Pro, the Prestige IQ, and the T10 Pro Smart. To begin with, the Vision Pro 8000 Smart Thermostat is your Wi-Fi Vision Pro thermostat. This is a 3-heat, 2-cool heat pump thermostat or 2-heat, 2-cool conventional. This can be configured as a residential or light commercial stat. And it has one set of contacts on the back plate to operate one indoor air quality device. That means you can use this to operate a humidifier or ventilation or dehumidification. This can be dual fuel, so it's great for heat pumps and dual fuel applications where you have gas backup on your ground source or air source heat pumps, and offers the 5-year warranty from Resideo. The Vision Pro 8000 Smart will allow you to add a wired outdoor sensor. This would be something you would buy additionally if desired, but because it's a Wi-Fi thermostat, it will allow you to use that for your outdoor temperature information to control your indoor air quality device, whether that would be a ventilator or a humidifier. The Vision Pro 8000 Smart has standard reminders for your fall, spring, and general service reminders, along with a warranty expiring soon. It also has the ability to customize your reminder. For example, a reminder to change your canister on your steam humidifier. The internet weather is provided on screen. It uses this weather information as the ability to control lockouts for dual fuel operation, auxiliary heat lockout, humidity, and ventilation lockouts. The 8000 Smart also will receive updates automatically through the internet if updates are sent. It does require 24 volts at the thermostat, so you need a minimum of 5 wires or more for your equipment, or 4 wires with a wire saver module. This does not offer any battery capability. The T10 Pro Smart with RedLINK is our latest addition to the family for upscale temperature control with indoor air quality options. It's available in 2 configurations. The first listed here is a kit that contains the thermostat and the use of 1 wireless indoor sensor. or the second number listed is the thermostat by itself without the sensor. Both options provide a junction box adapter plate and use the T-Series universal wiring plate mounting system. The T10 can also be used with up to 20 indoor sensors. So additional sensors are sold in pairs under the third number listed on this slide. The T10 has the capability of operating up to 3 heat, 2 cool for heat pump applications, 2 heat, 2 cool conventional, dual fuel with auxiliary heat lockout, and the ability to control one indoor air quality accessory, hume, dehume, or ventilation. The T10 is powered by 24 volts and requires a common wire. So that would mean 5 wires for heat and cool and 2 more wires for one IEQ option. If in fact you have 4 wires in your home that you're working on, you can optionally use the wire saver, which is shown here pictured on the right. This is a very easy to use accessory that actually requires no configuration. You simply wire at the equipment. There's a whip on it that wires directly into R, W, Y, C, and G. And then the 4 wires that were coming to your equipment from your thermostat would wire at the top of the unit into the 4 terminals, which are R, W, C, and the letter K. On the back plate shown on the left-hand side, you can see that we have a K terminal. So on that end, you wire it into R, W, C, and the letter K. What happens then is the thermostat just communicates across that K terminal, telling the relays inside the wire saver to either engage Y or Y and G for fan operation and cooling operation. Setting up the T10 is very simple. If you're familiar with the Prestige thermostat, it uses the same plain language walkthrough, beginning with choosing your language, English, French, or Spanish, and then allowing you to indicate where the room sensor will be sent and walking through placing the sensor and sensor addition. So simple setup. The heating and cooling setup is plain language and walks you through all the various options as you go through that setup as well. The RedLINK 3.0 wireless indoor sensor that comes included in the T10 kit is a terrific option to provide more custom comfort inside your homes. This sensor senses temperature and humidity and has the ability to use motion to decide when that's added into your average temperature or becomes your room sensor. Up to 20 sensors can be used for creating a real custom sensing capability inside the homes that you are working in. For humidifier control, we have a basic screen which allows you to adjust your humidifier set point and tells you your indoor humidity. It allows you to operate the humidifier and adjust your window protection level. The humidifier control and window protection level is managed through either a wired outdoor sensor or the internet weather provided based on the zip code entered in for the location where that thermostat is being used. Now we are moving into our Vision Pro 8000 with RedLINK option. Shown here, the TH8321R 1001 as a standalone thermostat is capable of multi-stage heat pump control and 2 heat 2 cool conventional system control. And at the thermostat has one set of contacts for hume, dehume, or ventilation control. Additionally, if you decide to add the equipment interface module, now you have what I refer to as the Swiss Army knife of thermostats. Your thermostat itself could be wireless, communicating to the equipment module in your equipment room, or the thermostat could be wired with 2 wires for power so you don't have to worry about batteries, and then communicate to that module where you have the ability of having 4 heat, 2 cool heat pump control, 3 heat, 2 cool conventional system control, and additional cooling stages up to 4, or configured as a commercial stat, and add to that the ability to control HUME, DEHUME, and ventilation all at once from one device. So truly the most flexible and versatile thermostat option that we have available. Backing up the RedLINK Vision Pro is the Prestige IEQ, which is the good-looking older brother. Prestige IEQ is a 2-wire thermostat required for power at the thermostat head unit. Makes use of the equipment interface module all the time. It is residential or light commercial, 4 heat, 2 cool heat pump, 3 heat, 2 cool conventional. It offers the ability to control HUME, DEHUME, and ventilation, with the ability of adding diagnostics, dry contact alerts, and performance logs. Prestige IEQ is offered in 4 kits. Shown here on the left, we have the 5085 basic kit, which is just the thermostat and the equipment module with DUCT sensors. Second, we show the 5101 kit, which is also the kit pictured in this slide. That includes the thermostat, the equipment module, the DUCT sensors, and the wireless outdoor sensor. We also have the 5127 kit, which is the thermostat, the equipment module, the RedLINK gateway for internet capability, and 2 DUCT sensors. And then lastly listed here is the 7001 kit, which is the super kit. This is the thermostat, the equipment module, the internet gateway, a wireless outdoor sensor, 1 wireless indoor sensor, and the DUCT sensors for diagnostics. Prestige IQ and Vision Pro, when using the equipment interface module, offers 4 S inputs, which can be used for wired sensors for indoor or outdoor temperature readings, discharge air temperature readings for diagnostics, or remote setback in commercial applications, or potentially for dry contact devices to be used for alerting, for example, a full drain pan alert or dirty air filter alert. The EIM module also can be used and configured for HUME, DEHUME, and ventilation, or additional stages of cooling, or geothermal radiant heat.
Thanks so much, Chris. All right.
Thank you.
So as Chris just walked us through the steam humidification kind of overview, as well as our controls, if you're interested in finding more information about the products that we've covered today during our training session, go ahead and visit the new Resideo Pro website. We have new features and new information about all of our products and solutions being added every day. So please be sure to refer back to the Resideo Pro website for that information. We are going to transition now to answering some questions that our sales team hears regularly about our steam humidifiers. So Chris, why don't I ask you these questions and then you can tackle answering them. And then just a reminder to our attendees today, if you do have questions on anything that Chris covered today on either the steam humidification portfolio or the controls, go ahead and take a few moments and enter that information into that Q&A feature in your Zoom webinar controls. And we're going to do our best to answer those questions in the time that we have remaining. So Chris, when should a contractor choose a bypass, a fan-powered, or a steam humidifier?
Well, that's a great question. There's generally quite a few variables that go into which one do I use. For many applications, it starts out with the budget for humidification. Just like you got to pay to heat your house, you got to pay to humidify your house too. Bypass, fan power, and steam humidifiers all have different costs associated with using them, along with the initial installation cost. But for me, I think it begins with what is the capacity and need for the home. So I would begin by sizing the home with the proper cubic square footage, deciding based on how tight the thermal envelope is for that home, and based on that, start to make recommendations leading with what makes the most sense, steam, fan, or bypass. And then, of course, as you walk through those options, then the homeowner can decide what they are opting out of or giving up to go to the next model in what you're offering.
Good advice. So should hot or cold water be used for humidifiers?
Well, I'm going to actually add a little more to that question. Should hot or cold water be used? Let's begin with cold water really is probably the standard choice and the best only choice for steam. We don't want to add hot water to steam humidifiers because it can throw off oh darn it, I'm losing the word, Jamie. It can throw off the diagnostics that the humidifier uses to manage the water in the cylinder. It also changes the temperature of the water, which affects how the unit drains during its drain cycle. When looking at bypass humidifiers and fan-powered humidifiers, some people recommend hot water. I don't. I personally don't believe that the advantage you get from using hot water in fan power or bypass offsets the cost associated with using hot water, which so much of that water goes down the drain at the end of the day. I ask people to think about it this way. When you're washing your hands and you go to the hand air dryer, do your hands dry faster because you used hot water or cold water? It really doesn't make a difference. It's the temperature of the air.
That's a great analogy. And then finally, when should that canister be changed in the steam humidifier?
Well, over the years, I've seen a couple of rule of thumb. I've seen folks that replace them at the end of every season, so they're ready to go at the beginning of the next year. So during spring tune-ups is a good time to change the canister. I've seen contractors educate the homeowner on how they can actually change the canister very easily themselves, and then leaving the canister there for them to change when the LED indicator says it's time to change the canister. So both are, and then I've seen people that change them at the beginning of every season. So really all three are correct. It's really kind of a personal preference for your business. If you're on if it's installed at a home where you have a standard service contract and you're going to be there annually anyway, you could just pick a time and put it in every year.
Just so long as you're changing it.
Exactly.
All right, so why don't we transition into answering some of the questions that have been submitted. If you want to pop open your Q&A tab there and take a look at that, I will call for questions one last time. If there's anything that you've got questions on that Chris has covered during our presentation, again, I would highly encourage you to type that out into your Zoom controls, and we'll do our best to answer those questions in the time that we have remaining.
Okay, I actually see a question here that I started to go down the path of answering and I forgot, and now this question reminded me of it. When we talked about hot and cold water, there's another type of water we have to make sure we think about specifically when using steam humidifiers. So the electrode steam humidifier depends on the conductivity of the water, and we want to make sure that we never use reverse osmosis water to deliver water into your electrode steam humidifier. That water is pure and has no conductivity elements in it, so therefore it will not work on an HM750. The question here that helped me remember that was asking about using a water softener as a way of treating the water before it reaches your system. I got mixed feelings on this. Generally speaking, if your water can be plumbed before the softener, I would do so. But if you have very, very high levels of conductivity in your water, then running it through a softener might reduce some of that, and that might be a better option. I guess, there's so many variables from home to home and town to town that you really have to know a little bit about the water that is in your area. Okay, I see a question here that asks about when adding a humidifier to the supply, will there be a chance of mildew or mold to develop? I'm not exactly sure where that is coming from. The one thing I will say is I believe that's referring to maybe during the off season of the humidifier. The electrode steam humidifier, when it has, I believe it's 48 hours of non-use, it will drain and remain empty until there's a call for humidity. So it does its own end of season shutdown per se. You don't have to power it off. You can leave it on, which is good because the cylinder has its own diagnostics and is keeping track of time and everything. So keeping it powered up is a good thing.
That's a great question. All right. Chris, any final words from you before we close out today?
Let me think. Well, I don't know, Jamie. It's a beautiful fall day here in Minneapolis. I'm looking forward to seeing humidifiers installed. It's the right time of year for it, but I guess my thought process is it's seasonal now, but it's really always humidifier season. So when you are talking to your homeowners, talk about their indoor air quality control and managing their humidity year round, which means selling a system in the spring and installing a humidifier in preparation for the winter.
And that's a great transition. Thanks so much, Chris, for providing us with this overview of our steam humidification portfolio and our control products. So we've got a special topic coming up in a few weeks in our Resideo webinar series, and I wanted to call that out here for all of you. We are actually going to be talking about on Tuesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to talk about using data to change that IAQ conversation. And in this webinar, we are going to walk through an overview of the Resideo AIRCYCLE program. And the basis for the AIRCYCLE program is really to empower contractors with data. So as you are talking with your homeowner customers, you're able to share specific details on the indoor air quality happening in their home, and then also talk about the products that you can install for homeowners to help any specific indoor air quality elements and how to bring them back into control. So if you've ever had questions about the AIRCYCLE program and how it can work for your business, we do invite you to join us on October 27th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time to hear about this overview. And then speaking about our Resideo customer webinar series, we are featuring a training next week on universal parts strategy as we are heading into combustion training season, and in that session, we are really going to focus on how you can use the universal parts to increase your profitability. So please make sure to join us and register for that training and share that with your teammates and coworkers. We really do look forward to having you join us for that upcoming session. If you'd like to find information on our upcoming series of webinars, go ahead and visit resideo.com/webinars for more information on those upcoming sessions. We do have our October schedule listed underneath the HVAC and the plumbing tabs on that website for your reference. And then a final reminder to our contractors who perhaps did not include your NATE ID on your registration form and you would like credit for attending today's session, go ahead and send an email with your first name, your last name, your NATE ID, and the date of the session that you attended to homes.university@resideo.com, and make sure to send that within 1 week of today's live webinar session, and we will go ahead and work with NATE to make sure that you get credit for attending this live session. And then 2 final things to note as our training session ends today. You are going to be prompted to complete a survey regarding our training session. Make sure to take a few minutes out of your day today to provide us with your feedback on today's session. We are looking forward to offering additional sessions in the coming months going forward, and we do really want to hear your feedback, not only on today's session, but also future training sessions that you'd like to see training on as well. And then also you're going to receive an email from us in a few days with some follow-up information on our steam humidification and control products, as well as a link to the website for more information on our future webinars as well. And then finally, thank you all for joining us for today's Resideo webinar session. Make sure to join us next week on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for our next training on universal part strategy. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.